All right, folks, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered for Wednesday, May 8, 2019. Besides Scott Bolton hating on the fact that my Rockets are 2-2 in the playoffs, playing Golden State tonight, his teams are not even near the playoffs. Let's talk about politics. Florida governor says he is going to vote for the bill to make it harder for the formerly incarcerated to vote in Florida. I tried to tell y'all they were going to do this. Republicans were going to do this, and it's happening. We'll break it down. We'll talk with a lawyer for the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition to see what their next move is. Johns Hopkins University students are protesting a private police force that commandeered a building today until the cops went in and arrested a number of them. We'll also talk to the author of a book on Donald Trump. His taxes, according to the New York Times, show he's been cheating America, and he is not the best businessman. But we knew he was lying any damn way. Yes, we got another great segment, Trump Lies Matter. And is there a case for impeaching Donald Trump and Bill Barr? Hell to the yeah. We'll break it down with our panel. Wait till you see this woman, how she went after these cops who tried to roll up in her house. All I'm saying is, this is one black woman y'all want to leave alone. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Some of y'all one day are going to have to own up to, Scott, that I am the man. That what I tell you is going to happen, and what I tell you is going to happen, you need to say, thank you, he's right. The Lord has given him insight and discernment.
Don't put that
And
on the
No,
Lord.
hold on.
Don't put that on the Lord.
Hold on, one
no.
second,
He
one
about to
second,
start praying
one
up in
second.
here.
I know my spiritual gifts. What about you two heathens? All right, y'all. I told
Catholic,
y'all
I'm
in
forgiving.
Florida. I told y'all in Florida. I told y'all. The Republicans were not going to take 65% of the people voting to restore voting rights to formerly incarcerated, especially when it affects upwards of 1.4 million people. I kept telling y'all that. We were excited on election night, and I said, watch them damn Republicans in Florida. You know what they gonna do. And even with my man Desmond Meade and his wife Sheena came on, oh no, we gonna register the people. I'm like, I'm trying to tell you, don't trust Republicans. Now you have Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who beat Andrew Gillum by 30,000 votes, because enough of y'all didn't take your ass to the polls.
In Miami-Dade.
No, he beat him.
No, he didn't beat him.
Only 57% of the people in Miami-Dade turned out.
Exactly.
Hello.
That is the point.
Yep.
He has said today he will sign a bill that will require ex-felons to pay all financial obligations before they can vote. Now remember, again, Amendment 4 passed in November. 65%. Republicans and Democrats voted for it. But come January, all of a sudden Republicans are like, well, we're not quite sure. All these registrars don't really know what to do when they actually knew what to do. Just register the people. And I kept saying, don't trust them, don't trust them. So then what happened? The legislature, they come into session, and then the House then goes, oh, guess what? In order to say that you paid everything back, they passed a bill saying you must pay all fines and penalties before you get the right to vote. They passed it, then the Senate passed it. Now, after some modifications, the governor says he is indeed going to sign. In a moment, we're going to be talking with the political director for the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. I want to break this down with my panel. A. Scott Bolton, former chair, National Bar Association Political Action Committee. Dr. Julian Malveaux, economist, president emerita of Bennett College. Michael Brown, former vice chair, DNC Finance Committee. I made this point, Michael and Scott, you are both lawyers. I think you're a lawyer, Scott. Michael, you're a lawyer, right?
He's a real lawyer. I'm just a lobbyist.
You're a lobbyist, but you got a law degree, right?
But I could play lawyer.
You got a law degree, right? So good. So I'll go to you first, Michael. You gotta wait.
Oh,
you gotta
God.
wait.
You messing up my business.
No, you gotta wait because you talk too much. So,
See, Scott?
so Michael,
Yes.
here's what. So I believe that the Florida folks, again, they made a mistake when they went before. So what happened was they had to go through all this stuff to get the language approved. They went before the Supreme Court. And what came up before the Supreme Court was their lawyers essentially said, yeah, it might include having to pay back fines or whatever, okay? But they immediately glossed over that, no big deal. Supreme Court approves the language. Republicans saw that as their opening. And they came back and they said, wait a minute. The lawyers for the coalition, they've already stated in court before the Supreme Court that it may mean paying back all of your fines. Now, do I believe the voters, their intent with Amendment 4 was that, yes, they immediately get their vote rights restored.
Yes.
But they left this opening, and that's what Republicans are riding on. This is going to go to court, but the problem is that their lawyers have already spoken on this before the Supreme Court. They may have accidentally given them their opening where this might be constitutional.
They may have, and I haven't read the statute, the governing statute related to that in the state of Florida. Politically, it's going to be a problem. Legally, I don't know. Hopefully, that the statute has another loophole on the other side. But did the legislation actually call for paying back the fees and the fines? Did the legislation call for it?
No, the legislation did not call for it.
Right. So,
But the problem is, it's again, it goes to intent. It goes to what was argued before the Supreme Court, and all the politicians are hanging their head on. Wait a minute, your own lawyers agreed that it might cover this, Scott. That may be a problem for them.
Maybe it's called opening the door, but the real issue isn't whether is the new legislation, because the new legislation allows them for their debt to be forgiven, or it allows them to have the finances. If they owe the money, they can get it converted to community service. The Republicans are going to argue that it's not a poll tax, even though it looks like it and sounds like it, because you can do it through community service, or it can be converted or be forgiven by the complaining witness that you allegedly owed the money to. That's the real defense that you've got to address on the Democratic side. I think they will, but if left to be the case, Michael's right, it's a real political problem for the Democrats and all the voters. The second argument is going to be that by allowing this or amending the legislation that has to be specific, that you are disenfranchising the 65% of Florida voters who actually voted for this. Look for those two arguments. I think the Democrats are going to win in the end, because the will of the voters was that these convicted felons who are out now should be allowed to vote. It's the will of the people.
But the problem, though, Julian, is that you could tie this thing up into court.
Yes.
And it could affect the 2020 election.
Hold on one second. Only if they get a stay. Otherwise, it'll run.
I got you, but
But that is the issue indeed. If 1.4 million new voters, they're likely to lean Democrat, but they're not all Democratic voters. And so we need to have Republicans who are convicted felons to step up and say, look, I want my voting rights back too, because this is not necessarily partisan. But if they run this into 2020, obviously it will affect that election. But it may affect it one of two ways. If Democratic voters are sufficiently outraged by this, perhaps we'll get more than 57% turnout in a Broward County. If people look at it and say,
or
look,
Miami-Dade.
It was Broward that was Miami-Dade that was 57%. Broward was around the same.
Yeah, so, basically, if you could get up to a 65 to 70% turnout, no matter what happens, you basically will lean back Democratic. So
this was the language.
People be angry enough.
Let me read the language. The language said this amendment restores the voting rights of Floridians with felony convictions after they complete all terms of their sentence, including parole or probation. The amendment would not apply to those convicted of murder or sexual offenses who will continue to be permanently barred from voting unless the governor and cabinet vote to restore their voting rights on a case-by-case basis. The issue here is after they complete all terms of their sentence, including parole or probation.
And fines. Don't say it. It says all terms. And
that's okay. So if you're convicted, okay, hold on. That's why I read it. I read it.
I just want to make it clear.
You ain't got to make it clear 'cause I made it clear.
Oh, I'm sorry. You got a
It's
Houston
crystal
shirt
clear.
on.
It says, after they
Scott, you talk
complete.
too much.
Yes, he does. After they complete all terms of their sentence, including parole or probation.
Does that say fine?
No, no, wait a
Doesn't
minute.
have
Wait,
to.
one
It says
second.
all.
One second. What Republicans are arguing is that
okay, fine is a term.
all terms is that when you get sentenced and the judge says this is what your sentence is, they are arguing that fines or restitution to the victims all falls under all terms. And when they went to the Florida Supreme Court to ratify the language of this language, that issue came up. And that's why I'm saying the argument was made, and their attorneys have said, yeah, it came up, but we didn't see it as a big deal at the time. But this is what Republicans are latching on. That language, and again, all terms, that's what the fight is going to be about, and that's why they passed this new law.
And are they going to lump in child support, parking tickets, which have nothing to do with the sentence?
Right.
Are they going to lap that in too? That will be their next level of.
Not if it's part of their felony conviction.
I would think
So
not.
I would think not, but you're right.
not.
They will. How it's implemented at the local level and the court level is going to be really important too. So that's pretty strong language, because most courts, Supreme Court and otherwise, will look at the plain language of the statute first and then start their analysis from there.
The issue is the will of the people. 65% of Florida voters said they wanted former or convicted felons and returning citizens to have their right to vote. The citizens are being completely, basically zeroed out by the legislature. So but of course, both the Senate and the House, the lower house in Florida, are Republican controlled, and they're running roughshod over people's rights. And this so reminds me, Roland, of the post-Reconstruction era and the ways that basically black folks' voting rights were eviscerated. Here we go again with the court manipulations, legislative manipulations, other ways. Now, all these folks are not black, but it's a way of ensuring that the powerful maintain
But the
power.
legislative intent is on the plain language of the statute,
But
all terms. And so
But
I think you're going to have an uphill battle. I understand the will of the people because I first argued that. But as you look at the plain language, the legislative intent of Democrats and Republicans who represent the voters was that all terms shall be met. Then you
This
can vote.
is a poll tax, you know.
Maybe,
It
but
is
go
a
ahead.
poll
But it's a
tax.
legal
And
one.
No, well, poll taxes by law.
It's a legal one.
Poll taxes are illegal, Scott. I mean, I know you think you're a brilliant legal mind, and sometimes I rely on
why
that.
is my
But right this
professionalism
minute,
under
my
attack
brother,
on this
right
show?
this because you put it out there. Because you put it out there. If you didn't put it out there, nobody would
It's
be
the
bothering
plain
you.
language of the statute.
No. Again, no, that's not true. You keep saying it's the plain language, but it's not plain.
You just read it.
No. Let me reiterate again. I need you to hear. I need you to listen.
He can't listen. He's
You can't listen because he's talking. What happened here was
Houston shirt is
the folks who are behind this amendment, they thought it was plain. What I kept saying is, don't trust Republicans. What we have seen by Republican legislatures in Utah when it came to Medicaid expansion, we've seen by Republican legislatures in Maine, in Wyoming, in Michigan, in North Dakota, all across the country, they literally are blowing off the initiatives voted on by the people. They were in search of all of these loopholes. And that's what they found. And so that's where we sort of now stand. And so the problem now comes to what is all terms? Does it boil down to you're out? And even if like one woman, and it was a white woman who owed like $57,000, and she said, "Well, this is grossly unfair that I can't vote until I pay back the $57,000." Republicans are saying, "Oh no, you got to pay everything back." But the voters were thinking, no, once you are out, and if you haven't committed murder, you haven't raped anybody. In fact, again, how Republicans operate. I'm gonna read a story here. This is from the Washington Post. An earlier version of the bill. Again, this is how, and I keep telling people, y'all need to understand, Republicans don't believe in playing fair.
No,
They
they don't.
believe in power and
believe in
winning.
winning, yep.
Okay. And here we go to my iPad. One early GOP proposal prompted an uproar by broadly defining sexual offenses to include, in addition to violent crimes, video voyeurism, lewd exhibition, prostitution, and locating an adult entertainment store within 2,500 feet of a school. That wasn't included, but I need people to understand this is what they do. They saw the opening and were like, okay, let's try to limit as many people as possible because they don't want that 1.4 million to register, because that immediately changes Florida electoral politics. And Mike, they understand Donald Trump won Florida last time. This, if they allow it to register, could flip that entire state. And the supermajority they have in the legislature could be in danger if those folks are voting in local districts.
I happened to be on the show that night. I forget the gentleman who was one of the organizers.
Desmond Meade,
yes.
who organized it all.
And we told them that they had too many black faces as the front for this effort. And it's not just black people in Florida that are felons. You needed to diversify who the message was, because you got a lot of white families out there that want their children to be able to vote. Well, not just
and they had white folks. They had white folks who out there as well.
They did.
At least half of the felons are not black. At least half of them are not black. You know, when you look at incarceration, et cetera, when you look at parole, probation, et cetera, and I would say that 60% of them are white people.
But here is, again, though, how media matters. So, for instance, you look at the First Step Act, okay? Trump has portrayed that as that's going to help the black community. And the people who support the First Step Act have been going along with it. I've been going, hey, it's some white folks who qualify under the First Step Act.
Come on.
So the problem is, when you, to Michael's point, and he's correct, when we have these discussions about criminal justice reform, I understand why we, as African Americans, look at this totally different, because we understand it disproportionately affects us. But the problem is, when you have initiatives like this here, how white folks view it, all of a sudden it becomes, oh, that's that black law. And you're absolutely right. That's why it was important when I had a video of a white woman who said, hey, I owe $57,000. This affects me. That's going to be one of those keys going forward in terms of who is out there communicating on this. And so it's going to be, I just need our people to understand, they are not going to play fair. They're not. Right. They're not going to play fair. Republicans are hell-bent. Y'all need the never Trumpers. It's a small number. You look at folks like Eric Erickson from Georgia, who did not support Donald Trump in the last election, who's already said he will vote for him again. Why? Because he's supporting the policies that they also want. You look at what they just confirmed another judge lifetime appointment. They have no intentions on playing fair. We better be fully prepared for an absolute assault on voting and voter suppression by Republicans nationwide.
We need to look back again at the post-Reconstruction era and look at the ways, the chicanery, the ways of white supremacy were elevated. Just yesterday, Roland, that man who lives in a house that enslaved people built proposed a new set of regs around what poverty meant. And so they want to narrow the definition of poverty. A poverty line for a family of four is $25,900, right, something like that. But they want to basically narrow that so that fewer people will qualify for public assistance. Mm-hmm. He has made several comments about the fact that so-called able-bodied people are receiving assistance. So if he gets reelected, this man is going to have a romp.
Oh, no. Steve Bannon has already said, you have not seen an unhinged Donald Trump. He said if he gets a second term, he is going hard. And but I just need our folks to understand that we can't get caught up in this game of not understanding voter suppression. That they are going to try everything, Scott. Yeah. Everything.
Yeah, but going back to the Florida voting piece, the roots of why you can't vote in this country, if you've got a convicted felon, date back to the Jim Crow days. And several states still have it, but there is no causal connection whatsoever between your voting and whether you've served a prison term.
They don't care.
One factual connection. Well, it was originally put forth in the southern states to block people of color and new slaves.
No. It was not put in place to block people of color.
What was it put in place for?
To block black people.
Yes. Thank you,
I'm
Roland.
sorry.
No.
I'm
No. There are
Can I
times that we
finish
use
my
people
point?
of color
Fine.
too broadly.
But does it stop
it
black
was
people, and I said
specifically to
slaves?
stop black people.
Oh, my
No,
goodness.
Scott,
All right, Professor,
Scott,
forgive
it's
me.
an important-
I take your
You-
friendly
you're
amendment.
forgiven.
Hold on. I'll
But
take your
Scott, it's
friendly
an
amendment.
important point.
It is an important point.
And my point is sustained.
Somebody sent him to law school.
Sustained.
I'm out of here.
Julian.
Here's the point. We keep saying people of color to dilute the attacks on black people. Black.
Black.
Say it again. But when you say people, no, they were
no problem with that. I
Yes,
said
there is a problem.
slaves to block slaves from voting.
Enslaved people. Thank you.
Forgive me for using the term.
Okay, go ahead and
people of
finish your
color.
point, please.
My point is this, right?
He don't have no
There's
point.
no causal connection, no political or legal connection between whether you should be able to vote because you've been a convicted
No,
felon.
there is a political connection. You're black.
Yeah, exactly, which is not sustainable under the Constitution.
It's been sustainable.
So every state ought to take a look at this. Florida took a look
Scott,
at.
how do we get Plessy? How do we get Plessy?
Exactly.
That was upheld.
I am arguing in your favor. I am saying.
No, you're not arguing in my favor.
I am. What I'm saying is that no state should have a law that blocks felons from voting.
But here's the deal. That's nice in a very hypothetical world. But the reality is, after this passed,
is the Roberts Court.
But here's the deal. After this passed, the Republican governor of Iowa, she came out and she said, shut down. The reality is, Republican voters, white Republican voters, support these measures. This was a 10-year effort in Florida. It took a decade to get this on the ballot. They do not want this in Texas or Tennessee or Georgia or
North
Arkansas
Carolina.
or North Carolina.
Florida then.
No.
It took 10 years, but Florida voted for this.
No. Follow me here. You keep saying that no state should have this. What I'm saying is this, Michael, is in the interest of Republicans to keep fewer folks voting, and they do not want to see, especially black folks, but even others voting. They don't want to do it.
You know, there's another part of suppression outside of the pieces we're talking about, is internal suppression, especially when we have all these folks running in the primary. If your person doesn't win, you're upset, you take your ball to go home, and you don't come out for the general. And during the Republican, they had 17 people, but all those people backed Trump because he was the nominee. Yeah, you had a couple of people, outliers that didn't do it.
Right.
But I guarantee you they didn't vote for Hillary.
Right.
They may have written somebody in, but they came to the poll. So we have to be careful about that.
Folks, again, we're talking about the election, and you would think that one of the reasons why Donald Trump never wanted to release his taxes because he knew the impact it was going to have on this election. Well, the New York Times, of course, came out with this study showing that pretty much over a decade, Donald Trump lost $1 billion and didn't pay any taxes whatsoever. Now he's trashing the Times, calling it fake news, blasting everybody. But this is really his Achilles heel because it goes to his heart of questioning him as a real businessman. David K. Johnson, someone who knows him well. He's written about Donald Trump. He's the author. First of all, he's the founder of DC Report and the author of It's Even Worse Than You Think. David, I never believed he was a damn billionaire because the Forbes list is a lie because they just guesstimate anyway. But the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump, he knows that it's a lie that he's a great businessman. New York media played a role in this. Networks like CNN and MSNBC and Fox News kept putting him on. They kept promoting that lie. And all these people who voted for him, they actually thought, put a great businessman into the White House who can save America.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that, Roland. The news coverage of Trump by almost everyone was gullible and naive, and it's an example of the old problem of don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. And those of us like Wayne, the late Wayne Barrett, myself, Tim O'Brien, who were documenting that it wasn't true, we were met with, attitudes by even editors when I was at the New York Times of, well, it's not that important. It doesn't matter, and they didn't see what you're seeing now, which is that you have a man in the White House who's a career criminal. And the discussion you've just been having, a man who is, as racist as can be, even as he goes around proclaiming he's not, and his followers are to a large extent people who want to parody Trump's line, "Make America white again." Voter suppression to them, perfectly okay.
And David, the thing is here, and the reason that it just stabs him in the heart, because he's crafted this whole narrative. I'm the smartest, I'm the best, I remember everything, I know all these things. And the reason he does not want people to see his taxes, because they will actually see how he has manipulated and lied. Look, what is it? His golf course in New Jersey, they've got a pen of goats so he can qualify for a farming exemption.
That's right. That's right. And today something very important just happened. The New York State Senate just passed a bill authorizing the state to give state tax returns to the Congress on request. Your state and federal tax returns in New York are essentially identical. The Assembly is controlled by Democrats, and Governor Cuomo says he will sign this bill. So the House Ways and Means Committee, despite the Trump administration lawlessly refusing to obey the law and turn over the returns, is going to get something very close, 99.9% close to the returns that Donald Trump filed with the federal government.
But David, does it bother you that Democrats, and again, the dancing they're doing, he is basically saying to hell with you, Congress. There's a law that says if Congress asks the Department of Treasury for the tax returns of someone, even if they're president, they are to turn it over.
Right. Well, here's the problem I see here, Roland. It's not a legal problem. It's a political one. The Republicans overplayed their hand with Bill Clinton in the impeachment over his dalliance with Monica Lewinsky. And they're very concerned that a lot of people will see this as an excessive attack on Trump. On the other hand, Trump is goading them to impeach him. And I think they're going to have to do it, but they need to hold public hearings, just like we had during Watergate, so that people hear the testimony and see the evidence. And I'll tell you one of the
Build the case, make the case.
That's right. One of the first people who should be called to testify is the IRS Commissioner, Charles Rettig, who is a California lawyer who helps rich people who get caught playing games or even outright cheating in the tax system. He is the person under the law who is designated to comply and turn over the tax returns, but he's not the one refusing. It's Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary.
Right.
I suspect what's going on is that Rettig has told the White House he will not break the law, so they removed it from him. Congress should call Rettig in and ask him exactly that.
Great point
there. Are you willing
to
turn these over? Have you been blocked from doing so? You're the person who has, under the delegation order, it's a form of regulation, the responsibility. Why are you not doing this?
Last question for you, David. I tweeted about this earlier today, and Soledad O'Brien was highly critical of these networks who kept putting him on. When I was at CNN, an executive vice president who is still there, I said on the air, I said, Donald Trump has no business being on this air talking about business. There are other CEOs that we can get. I said, when he's on CNN, we should run across the bottom that says, this is for entertainment purposes only. Ken Jouts sent me an email and said, do not criticize when Donald Trump is coming on our air. And I said, no. And that was my point. Wolf Blitzer will go interview Donald Trump at his tower. And I went to his booker and I said to her, what the hell are y'all doing? I said, oh, no, but he's great for ratings. I said, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. National media fell for this, and they created this monster that he is basically the best businessman in America. And not a single one of these networks and executives has said, we apologize for not listening to folks like you and Wayne and others where the truth was there. They fell for the okie doke, and they should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, and especially culpable here is my former newspaper, the New York Times. As soon as Donald announced in 2015, I said to myself, oh, my God, he just might pull this off. I dropped what I was doing, which was finishing a book proposing a whole new federal tax system, and went to work on this. And there's an article in the Columbia Journalism Review either today or yesterday pointing out that I was virtually alone out there saying, you need to be asking as journalists the following questions. There were 21 questions I pressed. Nobody did. And the New York Times in particular bears a burden here because every important news person in the country, the first thing they do in the morning is they read the New York Times. And the Times failed to investigate Trump because the attitude among those editors whom I know was everybody knows he's a crook and a charlatan. Well, no, people don't know that outside of Manhattan.
Right. There you go. Well, David K. Johnson, you've been doing a great job. Again, folks, D.C. Report, the author of It's Even Worse Than You Think. We appreciate it, David. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
Go to our panel here. Again, he's a fraud. Donald Trump is a fraud. He is not an excellent businessman. The New York Times report shows that he was lying when he would go out there and say, oh, I'm going to go buy this company, and the stock would go up. Then all of a sudden, he would then cash out by causing it to go up. He didn't have the money. Banks in this country wouldn't lend him the money. Right. Now, Deutsche Bank was really the only bank that was out there willing to give him the money. And all these white folks out there running around, oh, yeah, time for us to have a businessman who is the president. First of all, let me remind y'all, George W. Bush was the first president with an MBA. How did that go? I thought so. It plunged us into a deep recession that was damn near close to a depression. And that's what President Barack Obama inherited when he took over, when he actually pulled us out of that funk and handed Donald Trump a pristine working economy, which he swears that he actually built and created, which he calls the greatest any president has ever done, ever, because he's the smartest. And Julian, this is, again, it was the narrative. Yes. And the media helped create the narrative that he was this unbelievable smart guy.
You know, investigative reporters dropped the ball completely. There were every indication when he was running. I said, when he said he would not release his tax returns the first time because he was under audit. Under audit, you can still release the return. I mean, you filed the return, you can release it. There may be a problem with it, but you can release it. At that point, I said, this dude don't have no money. Excuse my ebonics. But I said, this dude doesn't have the money that people think he has. He has leverage. I mean, all these things with Trump on them, he doesn't own them. He's licensed his name. Right. So basically, he's 2 steps up from a hoe. I mean, licensed his name and not really actually done very much else. Then, well, let me not go there. I was about to start talking about Ivanka, but that wouldn't be nice.
I could do a lot with that. I'm glad you moved on.
But go finish. Go ahead.
The point here, Roland, at the end of the day is his financial vulnerability makes it easy for Russia to prey on him. That Deutsche Bank was the only bank that would lend him money, and that they pulled a plug on him at a point in time suggests that he was still borrowing money. Who was he borrowing it from, and under what terms, and what did he have to give up? And I would love to have been a fly on that wall with that conversation with Putin last week, because you know, you don't know.
But Scott and Michael, this is just the reality of what we are looking at here. If Americans got to see the tax returns, this is what they likely will see. They will see how he has manipulated this system, how he has claimed for multiple exemptions. We know for a fact that he suffered no damage to Mar-a-Lago when they had a hurricane in Florida, yet he applied for hurricane relief and got it. We know, I told you about the goats on the golf course in New Jersey. Literally, it's like 7 or 8 goats. That's in a pen on his golf course.
Keep the grass down.
No, they don't leave the pen.
Oh.
And he qualified, yes, for a farming tax exemption. What they will see is how many different exemptions he has grabbed and latched onto. But to read this New York Times report to say that his number was so high that literally only 3 other Americans in the country lost that much money, you know he's lying.
Right. If that. But your prior guest and I guess where we are right now, think of this, right? This is about his ego more than anything. The amount of money he's worth and the narrative.
His ego should have kept him out the race.
Probably, but he's in it and he won it. The reality is, or allegedly won it, but the reality is this. Let's say you got the tax returns. And the tax returns showed that he was worth $1 million, or let's say $100 million, right? With this 42% and the 98% approval of the Republicans, would he lose that if reality came forth? If you released his tax returns, would they stop supporting him?
No.
They would not.
No, but the issue has...
And just like the media continues to support him in the way you just described negatively, is because they know he's lying, but it makes good copy.
No. Not that it makes good copy. It makes them a ton of money. And here's the piece. The piece here, Michael, the piece here is not the 98% of Republicans supporting him. That's not the issue. He can't win just with them. The problem are the independent voters and those disaffected Democratic voters. That's how. And if the truth is revealed that he's a liar and a fraud and is not a billionaire, then you just took away the most important thing as to why people thought, oh, why we should put him in there. Michael, your thoughts. One second, Michael.
Not really.
And I find it interesting that his supposed brand is luxury. But when this is all over, I don't know how the people that support him will be able to afford his luxury items, because there are certain demographic groups.
They can't walk through the Trump Hotel in D.C. right now.
So that's why people are taking names off of their hotels, and I don't know where he's going to get the income when they're done. And plus, as Julianne said, and I know Scott mentioned it, how he tallies his number is if his name is on a building, he puts the worth of the building on his bottom line, like that's his building.
Right, even though it was a licensing deal.
Correct, and he does the math.
And again, we already have the evidence where he has manipulated the numbers, where for the purpose of getting a loan, he said, oh, my golf course in Scotland is worth and generates this. But then it was time for him to be taxed. Oh, no, the golf course is worth $5.
Right.
And so right there, we already got the evidence where the guy's going to lie about it. And he is going to go to the mat, and he is going to take this tax deal all the way to the Supreme Court. And there was a segment today.
Here's Supreme Court.
But here's the deal. There was a segment today that was on Fox Outnumbered, which was beyond laughable. I really thought it was a Comedy Central segment. Where they had that idiot Mike Huckabee, with the lying daughter, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and all of them on the show saying how disastrous it would be if I love the story was no, it really was funny because they literally said it would be disastrous if he releases his taxes because people will be looking all over and they would be looking at this LLC and chasing things. All these folks on Fox were arguing why he shouldn't do it. Do you actually believe that if Hillary Clinton or any Democrat just was this obstinate about not releasing their taxes, they would be like, no issues.
Right.
No issues.
Right.
That's why I keep saying, Fox News, Republican Party, all of them, this is about power. Most of them, they hate his guts. They know he lying.
Right.
Y'all know
But
this.
they're benefiting. But Roland,
That's the point.
Benefiting. I mean, when democracy dies, who benefits in a predatory capitalist system? The predatory capitalists. So even though these people wouldn't have dinner with him, can't stand him, they basically see their profits rising. You see the stock market rising until he started fooling with Chinese terrorists. That's another story. But you see people benefiting, and so people are benefiting, and they'll just ignore all his ignorance, his crudeness, his lies, his perfidy. They ignore all of that because they know that they're making money.
So let's talk about lies. Today, the House Judiciary Committee approved holding Attorney General William Barr in contempt. Now, of course, he has refused to testify before them after a disastrous testimony before the Senate committee because he didn't like the fact that Chairman Jerry Nadler says you would be questioned by staff attorneys. Barr believes that is beneath him, so therefore he should not have to answer their questions. Now, Donald Trump, actually, I love this one here. So he's claiming executive privilege over the entire Mueller report. Didn't the report get released? So exactly how do you claim executive privilege over something that's already been released? Okay, these people are so the House Committee they have actually voted along party lines against Bill Barr, and now of course is going to go to the full House for a vote. To our question, and again, it's to hold Barr in contempt. Now, remember, Republicans love sitting here talking about Eric Holder and when they held him in contempt, and he was the first Attorney General being held in contempt. Looks like we might have our second, and they're just beside themselves. Now, they loved it when Eric Holder was held in contempt, but now they're just beside themselves on the issue. But it does raise the issue that David K. Johnston talked about, and that is the issue of impeachment. You got Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who has been dancing around this issue. She's like, hey, you know what? We don't want to impeach that. She's calling this thing self-impeachment. I don't know what the hell that means, and all this sort of stuff along those lines. So I'll ask the three of you. Is it a dangerous path for Democrats to proceed to have impeachment hearings for Barr and or Trump, or are they being too scared and too timid and saying, well, let's just have the election, and so we'll do enough, but we won't go all the way.
Yeah, you know, the impeachment process is not a partisan or political process. The Democrats are treating it that way. They're looking at the 52%.
Sir, what is it?
It is an enforcement process to take the desire of the will of the people who put the president or who put Barr in office and to remove them as part of the process.
No, it's not what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
First of all, impeachment
the impeachment process
Scott,
would remove
Scott,
indict him and then remove him.
First, the impeachment is in the Constitution.
Exactly.
Two,
it's the law.
No, the body that impeaches him is the House. The body that convicts or acquits the Senate. That's a political process. Second of all, high crimes and misdemeanors are not defined as criminal acts. Congress can define them any way they choose. That's a political process.
Inherent in misdemeanors and high crimes are that you've committed high crimes and misdemeanors.
But it's not defined. The point is, it is a political process, not a legal. Here's the deal. The Trump team...
The decision to impeach is being treated by the Democrats, whether to impeach or not,
right,
as some type of political doctrine or process. And what I'm saying to you, if you would let me finish, it may be a political in nature, but the decision to impeach or not is they're testing the political winds. And what I'm saying is that it's not a political decision per se that you test the political winds. If there are high crimes and misdemeanors, if he has violated a subpoena, if they have not shown up, then they do define what should be impeachable or not. And the decision to impeach and to begin the process, despite what the Senate won't do, and that is they won't convict him, as part of the Constitution and for the betterment of America, they've got to go through this process.
And again, for the people who don't understand any of this, again, you have House and the Senate with two different roles, Mike. House impeaches. The actual trial is in terms of whether they're found guilty or not in the Senate. But here's the difference.
And each vote,
but
by
here's
the way.
the difference.
Each vote.
But here's the difference that people have to also understand. When you talk about testing the political wind, they did during Watergate. You have never seen, first of all, the American public has never said, yeah, impeach. No one, impeachment in the Constitution, it is the upper echelon, the absolute last resort.
Right.
Watergate, you look at the polling done, it wasn't 50, 70% people said impeach Richard Nixon. No, it was in low 20s and 30s until there were hearings. And when there were hearings, and they begin to hear testimony, and there begin to be witnesses, and then every action, all of a sudden, Michael, you saw numbers go up. And then all of a sudden, it reached a point where Howard Baker and the Republicans walked to 1600 Pennsylvania and said, it's time for you to go. Because after these hearings, dude, we can't vote for you. And that's why Nixon resigned, because he knew there was going to be a vote he was going to lose. And so, what Democrats, they're scared, Michael, because they're going, oh, well, this happened with Bill Clinton. His poll numbers went up. That was sex. This is absolute contempt, lying, pressuring. This is a thug in the White House.
And one of the differences is that during the Nixon hearings, folks showed up. What is the remedy the way Trump has designed it? To not let anybody show up.
Boom.
So and as being a party loyalist, I get that Speaker says, well, it's dangerous and we don't want his base to be riled up. His base is already going to be
already.
Yeah.
That to me is not.
They've been riled up.
And you can't also say, oh, well, the Senate's not going to remove him, so why do it? That's also not the answer.
For instance, did the Senate remove Bill Clinton?
Nope.
No. So the problem, and guess what, Nancy Pelosi? Your job is not what the Senate does, Julian. Your job is you are the Speaker of the House.
Right.
Your job is to do your job. She can make the same argument that any bill that we pass in the House, Mitch McConnell is never going to bring up, so why in the hell waste any time even bringing the bill up? So guess what? I'm just going to sit here as Speaker of the House and go, hey, Mitch, let me know what you agree with, then I'll go ahead and move the bill. Otherwise, we're wasting time. Her argument is weak.
But before you answer, I'm sorry. That's what I think her definition of self-impeachment is. If he's going to do all this, we got to impeach him.
Yeah, he's goading.
She's giving herself an out.
He's goading the House
as a plus.
He's goading the House into impeachment because he refuses to be responsive. A. Scott had a great piece unfortunately on the Fox News channel, but a great piece that talked about the reasons for impeachment. No, this man he's like a little kid saying, "Nya, nya, 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 nya," you know, do it.
I dare you to cross that line.
And basically, at this point, Nancy Pelosi, my buddy, my homegirl, all of that, San Francisco Democrat, for all that stuff, but she is basically wussing out, but she's allowing, as she said, self-impeachment is you keep disrespecting Congress and we have no choice but to impeach your hind parts. And basically at this point, he almost has given them no choice. The inappropriate invocation of executive privilege at this time is absolutely wrong. His exhortation
I'm not sure he has the privilege to do that.
No,
let me just go ahead.
McGrath, that he does not want McGrath to testify, that he's attempting to...
McGahn.
I'm sorry.
He doesn't want McGahn, doesn't want Mueller, doesn't want... Look, but we got to go ahead and cut to the chase because look, I've never self-identified, unlike y'all three, as being with any party. See, I can go ahead and say it. Democrat are some punk asses. No, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. They some punk asses.
Well,
no. Let me unpack it. Let me unpack it.
I don't disagree with you, Roland.
They some punk asses. They some punk asses because here's the deal. Okay, here's the reality. All right. Today, they approved another judge over the objections of both U.S. senators in New York. Third time in history it's happened. The other two times, Mitch McConnell did the same thing. Republicans are like, you know what? I know there's a blue slip rule. I know if you're a Democrat and you're a Republican and Scott, you're from the state and you put a blue slip in, we'll honor that as a rule and we'll go ahead and not bring the person up. Mitch McConnell's like, the hell with you, I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up. Okay? In fact, wait a minute, hold on. In fact, Wisconsin, they got a Democrat senator and a Republican senator. The two of them didn't agree. He was like, you know what? Y'all kiss my ass. We're gonna put him up anyway. He didn't care about Rob Johnson. Here's the point I'm making. Republicans are about absolute power. Democrats believe in fairness. Democrats believe in equity. Democrats believe in the right thing to do. Democrats believe in what will they say. Republicans like, I don't give a damn what they're going to say. We're going to do whatever. And then when we do it and get caught out on it, we're going to say whatever. And my point is, at some point, if you're Democrats and you got the House, you've been hearing Maxine Waters say, I got the gavel and I'm going to use it. This is where all this little dance Nadler's doing. No, this is where you got to say, no, we about to go medieval on that ass.
You're absolutely right. I mean, the fact is that you have...
I've never heard it put that way, but I get your point.
But, you know, the fact is that you've got these people like Maxine, like Elijah Cummings. You've got these new people like AOC and Ayanna Pressley. You've got folks who are saying, look, this man has consistently disrespected us, and there we have remedies. And Nancy Pelosi, for all her good points, is as you said, Scott, finger in the wind. The challenge is that we shouldn't be looking at what happens in the 2020 election. We should be looking at what's happening right.
And I'm telling you, Michael, I'm telling you, I need people to understand this. This man is passing tax cuts. He is putting these judges on. You got Franklin Graham out there who don't care about him cheating, who don't care about that. They do not care. He is given the right. Whatever they want, they are going to excuse everything, and they are going to vote for him. Because you know what this was the argument is going to be. It was the same argument it was in 2016. Yeah, we know he's a piece of crap. Yeah, we know he's a womanizer. We know he disrespects women. But if Hillary president, she gonna pass. I don't care who the Democrat is. It can be Biden, Harris, Warren, Buttigieg. It can be O'Rourke, Castro. It can be Klobuchar. It can be Gabbard. It can be the other 29 people who are running. It can be any of them. Republicans are gonna say, a Donald Trump we can't stand is better than any Democrat we kind of like.
Because of predatory capitalism. Because of predatory capitalism.
Well, not just that, but also race.
Predatory capitalism. We're not socialists.
They are socialists.
It's an attempt to extract that last dollar from a working person. The fact that these regulations, Scott, I know that you are a petty capitalist. I realize that, and that's a good thing.
Hold up. No. Let me say this here. I'm going to quote John Hope Franklin. Damn it, you got to be a capitalist to be a damn good socialist. Okay? Guess what? You got, hold up. If you want to give some money away, hell, you got to make some damn money to give it away. But go ahead.
But okay, so Scott was
I'm just saying.
So Scott's gonna give you a bunch of money when the show is over with. But no, here's the point though. These people are looking at their bottom line. It has nothing to do with principle. It has nothing to do with democracy. It has to do with the extraction of surplus value from poor people. And when you look at the minimum wage
That's
bill,
all they care about.
the minimum wage bill is going to pass Congress. It's not going to go through the Senate, but they're not going to stop on that. They should put it out there. There's other legislation that they need to put out there. So quite frankly, if you're going to put all that legislation out there, know what kind of Senate you face. Why not do impeachment?
Roland, here's
Go
the
ahead.
real point that we have not talked about and how we got here politically with the Democrats and the Republicans. What happened to the Republican Party?
We ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for that.
The Republicans.
We ain't got no.
They're not there. So where did they go?
No. I think that is the stupidest conversation we always have.
Poor baby.
We keep saying it is stupid.
It is
You know
stupid.
why it's stupid?
They should put
Because it
country
is
ahead
a
of partisanship.
it is a
But they're not gonna do
philosophical. Oh, what happened to him?
What happened to him?
Easy, the same
Jack
damn
Kemp
thing.
died. Who took his place?
First
Nobody.
of all, Jack Kemp had no place.
Yes, he
Jack
did.
Kemp was a member of Congress. He was in the House and
He
became
ran for the
Secretary of HUD.
presidency
He
and
ran and got his
Secretary of
ass
HUD.
whooped. Okay?
Yeah,
they didn't
he
care about
did.
Jack Kemp.
So
they
there are
didn't
no
care.
Republican statesmen in the country right now,
No.
in the House or Senate.
No.
No,
That's
there
our
aren't.
problem. That's one of our problems.
They ain't our problem. That's their
One of
problem.
our problems.
No, I
Because-
keep telling you,
because they keep putting
care,
politics about-
Michael. They care about power, and
Okay.
how they have defined power is this way.
They don't care about the country?
They have defined.
Apparently
Nope.
not.
You can't rely on them to care
This
about
is
the
what they
country.
said,
No,
Mike.
you
I'm
can't.
talking to Michael. Michael, this is what they've said. They
of
said
being cut off.
this is what they've said. They said point blank,
better than-
overturn Roe v. Wade. They've said overturn same-sex marriage. They've said stop undocumented workers from coming to this country. They've said get rid of affirmative action. They've said the hell with unions. They've said park that money overseas and then bring it back. Let them bring it in for free. What they've said is massive tax cuts trickle down. Even though right now, okay, dairy farmers in Wisconsin shutting down up more than 50%. Farmers in Iowa getting screwed. In fact, a group of scientists in the U.S. Department of Agriculture have quit because the Trump administration has blocked them out because they dared to release a report that showed that his tax cuts have had a negative impact on farmers. And so they basically blocked them out and they quit. What the Republican Party is all about, they've been lying to these broke white folks all these years. And also why we here, Washington Post had a story today about should Democrats compete for rural voters. The whole story is about Iowa. Damn it, put white in there, because you ain't talking about black people. Iowa's 90% white. You ain't talking about none of us or Latinos. The reality is this here, okay? The Republican Party don't give a damn about none of those people. And at some point, those dumb folks gonna wake up and realize we keep getting screwed by the same
At what
people.
point, Roland? At what point? Is it
No,
2020? Is it going to be 20?
No.
We
Hopefully
could
they wake
have
up.
another 4
But the deal
years.
is you can't waste your time hoping they wake up. What you got to do is you got to turn out more of your people to beat them.
I have, and you know, Tom Perez is a good friend of ours, and I know we all know him and like him, but I got to go back to 1988 when my father was chairman, and he watched how Lee Atwater and Roger Ailes ran the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "We're not going to bring a knife to a gunfight this time. We're going to bring a gun to a gunfight." And that's what they did.
I'm going to bring a bazooka.
And he said, look, and that's where Chairman Perez's challenge is going to be. Yes, I get, and that's what you were talking about, Roland, the fairness thing, and that's what we're about, fairness. Sooner or later, he's going to have to stop this primary process. Of course, not anytime soon. We have primaries to run, some caucuses. But what my father did is let people step up, and then he said, you know what? Bill Clinton's the guy. Everybody else, I'm turning the faucet off. So you can either get out and be part of the team, or you're just going to get trampled. And people made some tough, and that was back in Gephardt days and Rockefeller. These were some strong people.
Right.
And you have to sometimes make a tough decision what's best for the party and best for the country. And that's what hopefully Tom.
So hold on. Wait. So wait. I'm going to end this segment on this. And so when we did the Erica Alexander, no.
We got more to say.
Get over it. When we had the Erica Alexander interview, I want y'all to listen. I want y'all to listen to the last line of what Erica Alexander had to say. And to me, that's what Democrats should be their state of mind today. So this was the promo that we ran promoting our interview with Erica Alexander. Here we go to my iPad.
Are they going to run it for you? In order to get any think in this world we have to work with the system that's there. And you have to have the courage of your convictions. You may despise me, you may not understand my choice, but at least you can respect that I stood in it. If you are outside the mainstream, no one can push you aside any further. Life makes you jaded and it hurts you and it's painful. And we've had a lot of pain in this country. Trump can show up and say anything and they can just go, oh yeah.
And the African American community was great to us. They didn't vote.
You know, he just called you stupid. Did you hear that? But he's for us. Really? And they were just regurgitating the things that they had heard on a radio or in the barbershop or something somebody had told them. They hadn't thought about it. Democracy is in danger because people don't know how to think. I'm done with trying to convince people to try to vote for their, for their life. You have to run for your life. I'm gonna go try to get people who are open to it and lead them. I'm done with hope. Fuck hope. Fight. That's it.
Y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that last line? That should be on a t-shirt. Fuck hope, fight. That's what she said.
I didn't understand.
No, okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Hold up, sorry. Let me walk you through those 3 words again. Eric Alexander said, fuck hope, fight.
I got it. I didn't hear her say
that.
It was muffled.
So y'all can, well, it wasn't muffled. You heard me say it. So all y'all, look, I know all these black folks. I know all these black folks. You damn right. I know all these black folks.
Cursing works.
I know all these black folks still in love with Obama, and they want Obama to come back. Let me go and help y'all. He ain't coming back, okay? He ain't running again, all right? And guess what? Where we were in 2008 is not where we are in 2019. And so you can talk about the love army and love them and hold them and caress them. I'm telling you right now, Republicans ain't trying to love us. They ain't trying to caress us. It's about power. And you better understand what Michael said. When you come into a gunfight, I advise you to bring a gun. And in my case, bring a bazooka.
Or like an automatic.
I'm blowing out a bazooka. I'm blowing the whole side of the whole side away, not just that one person. Because I'm telling y'all, mark my words. If y'all think I'm crazy, write it down. Today is May 8th, 6:59 p.m. The Republican Party, they will do everything to win next year. Period.
Yeah, that's true.
I gotta play this video, y'all. So we saw this video. First of all, I didn't realize somebody black lived in Montana.
That's one. That's one.
There's a sister named Angela Whitehead. These cops from the Billings, Montana Police Department walked into her apartment without asking Angela's permission. They didn't knock on the door. Woo! Check out Angela.
You can't. You cannot come in my home. I did not give him permission.
You did not. He walked.
Thank you. Talking about it's an altercation.
There was no altercation.
I don't give a damn what you heard. I don't give a damn what you heard. You understand what I'm saying? No, because this is my home and this is my property, and I'm telling you to leave my home. That's what I'm telling you. This is my house. I pay these bills. You crazy? Out your head coming up in my house? You must be crazy coming up in here. Talking about you heard something. You heard me talking. I talk loud and I'm aggressive. And guess what? You did not knock on my door. There's no weapons here. There's nothing going on here. And you are violating my rights, sweetheart. Right. Now, tell me that I'm fucking wrong. You can't, because I'm not wrong. You do not come in my home without my permission. Period.
When I get called,
I don't care what you got.
I don't care.
I don't care what you got. Because guess what? If I had just came in the house and smoking a cigarette, this door would have been closed and your ass would have had to knock. You do not fucking come in my house without my permission. With your white ass, and I'm black, and I'm scared of you. So guess I don't care. Right. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
That's why you're screaming.
I'm screaming because I'm screaming because you're in my space. This is my home. This is where my kids live. How I know you wasn't coming up in here with a fucking gun? Black people killer? How do I know that? I don't. So guess what? I'm aggressive. I'm being hostile, like you guys call us, because you done came up in my home. Stop playing. You got the wrong black girl on the right day, baby. What do you want? What do you want? Goodbye. I know my rights. They cannot walk in my home. Because if this door was closed, they would have had to knock. Don't ever do that again. Thank you.
They left out the motherfucking part.
Oh, man. Okay, y'all aired the good part out. All right, let me go ahead and do it, okay? So it's a brother who's off. Oh, I can't believe y'all edited the part. Oh, man. It's a brother who's off screen. He's trying to be reasonable. Sir, she's like, shut up. It's my house. Turn back to the cop. She jumped in the cop's ass. Brother start talking. Kevin, shut up. Y'all left the good stuff out. It was a brother was trying to calm her. She was like, shut up.
That's why I run this house.
No, she said, yeah, I run this house.
I pay the bill.
And then dog, she said it.
Did she really?
Bruh.
She said, I pay the bill.
She's like, Kevin, shut the hell up.
Yeah, she did. That's my cousin. I'm claiming her. She's a member of my family.
No, but she was. You heard a noise.
Oh, God.
And you gonna walk into the apartment?
Not knock.
Not knock.
Just walk in. Two policemen. Hey, now.
We know who need to run for Congress from Montana.
Right? And that'd be her campaign video.
But they stood in the video and they didn't say anything.
And then they left. And then they left.
And at the end, you didn't hear the other part at the end where the cop said, well, ma'am, you really should take his advice. Listen to him. She's like, hell no. Out. But I'm with her.
We need to replicate that.
But she was right, actually. That's why they just stood there, because they were trying to figure out a way to gracefully to de-escalate and just walk out. Eventually, they just backed out. I've never seen anything like that.
They had no business there in the first place. You just don't walk up in somebody's house.
Because you heard something. She said, I got kids. And you heard me talking loud. And I'm aggressive.
I love her. I want to clone her. I want to replicate her.
I'm telling y'all.
That's my spirit animal.
Well, did you tweet that out, that video out?
Oh, hell yes, I tweeted the video out. That's why I saw it.
I need to retweet that.
Dog, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And what I love about it when she was like, shut up.
Yeah.
She told her brother and he was trying to like, Mr. Officer, everything, it's, officer.
Yeah, he was playing Mr. Bojangles, and she wasn't having it.
Nope, she wasn't having it.
She said, I'm in my house. I'm scared. I got kids. You got a gun. I'm black. You white.
No, and you know what? And the reason I wanted that on because I'm serious. Black people have gotten fed up. And here's the other piece. And we talk about these shootings and stuff. Black folks are tired in this damn country of having to be on our P's and Q's, change our tone, and wear a damn suit when we drive in, okay? Because we have to sit here and deal with some bullshit, okay, from folks every single day. And I'm sorry, I'm calling like it is. We're tired of it. We're tired of having to change everything about us to accommodate folks who are largely white who can't deal with the reality, okay? There's a video of a white woman. Cops pull her son over. White woman comes to the scene, cusses the cops out. I'm talking about up and down. This is the cop the whole time. Ma'am, I understand. Ma'am, you can't show me a black mama who would come to the scene. The cops would say, you interfering with law enforcement.
She might have been shot.
I'm just saying that, so Angela had enough. Angela probably saw the Hedge of Land video, and she probably saw everything else, and then she also knew, you're in my house. You crossed that threshold, no warrant, no knock. And that's why they had to back out. Because they couldn't do resisting arrest. They couldn't say disorderly conduct because she was actually in her house.
She said the door is only open because I was out there smoking my cigarette. Otherwise, the door would have been closed.
And you would have had to knock.
And you would have had to knock.
All I'm saying is...
And there were some big cops, too, man. They were like 6'2", 6'3".
And they had missed the meal. You know?
Oh, hold on. Wait. Hold on. I think I found it. I think I found it. Go to my iPad.
Watch what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck about what you talk about. Shut the fuck up. Now. You shut up. I don't care what he's talking about. This is my house. I pay these bills. You crazy?
Yeah,
I told you
one more time.
I told y'all they cut the good stuff out. I told y'all. Kevin was talking. Hey, shut. My advice to Kevin. Zip it. She aggressive. Zip it.
You know?
Jackie Clark.
F up.
Jackie Clark, your job is to get Angela on the show tomorrow. She was on Joe Madison's show this morning. Your job is to get her on the show tomorrow. We got to give Angela an Image Award.
Oh, yeah.
that. We got to give Angela Image Award. All right, y'all, we got to go. I knew y'all would go. Normally we play some crazy-ass white person who lost their mind. But Angela right there. Angela,
Those are crazy-ass white people.
Angela got to get an invite to the Image Awards next year or something.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Take her to the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Yes.
Damn, that'll be good. All right, y'all. If you want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show out here, please go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. We'd love for you your support. Again, whether you want to pay via Cash App, PayPal, Square, you name it, please support us because, again, this is what we do. We have a great show for you tomorrow, and trust me, that black woman's going to be on this show. It might be tomorrow, it might be on Friday, it might be on Monday, but we're going to have her on the show because sister was giving them the business.
Yes, she was.
The true sister.
She was the truth. Angela Whitehead, power to the people. Power!
That's my cousin. That's my cousin.
You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? The blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it. Hey fam, want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered, the blackest show on all of digital, cable, and broadcast. Check out our audio podcast. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Press play. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.